Hello and welcome back to another video, guys. Now, this is a video which I'm really excited to be making. This is my Star Wars novels. You can just see them here, some of them. And comic collection. Now, this is not technically everything. There are still a couple comics and a couple novels I have lying about, but these are just the canon ones. I have a couple more, but they're Legends. Now, for those of you who don't know, Legends is stuff which was Star Wars. It was Star Wars, but then when Disney bought Star Wars, they said, this is all Legends now. This stuff doesn't happen anymore in the Star Wars universe. So I'm not going to show you any of that. I'm going to just show you stuff that is canon. That means this stuff that I'm about to show you does exist in the Star Wars universe. When they're making a Star Wars movie, when they're making a Star Wars TV series, they have to work around these things because they do happen in the Star Wars universe. Unless you're The Rise of Skywalker, because that film done whatever it wanted. So, little dig at The Rise of Skywalker there. Anyway, let's get back onto this. So, I'm going to show you my novels first, then I'm going to show you my comics. Now, I've read, or when I say read, I mean listen to the audiobooks. So, a lot of these now. So, I'm actually going to be able to talk about them. But yeah, I've bought all the hardbacks. I prefer my books in hardback. They look a lot better, I think. So they are roughly in order of time order, other than some at the bottom, which they're smaller books. So I didn't want to, I didn't want the height differences to be going like that in my collection. But anyway, let's get started. So the first one it actually isn't a novel, the first one. The first one is a screenplay, and that is Dooku, Jedi Lost. Now, this was incredible. So this one I would recommend listening to the audiobook anyway, because it's like a script for a film. If I open it up and show you, you can see there. Now, this one is amazing. If you didn't appreciate the character Count Dooku in the films, which, let's face it, most people didn't, because he didn't have much development in the films whatsoever. Wow, this is incredible. So this shows him at his early age, finding out his parentage. He meets his sister and his brother. It shows him working his way through the Jedi Order, becoming Yoda's apprentice. Then it shows him training his apprentice, which came before Qui-Gon, whose name's escaping me off the top of my head. And then, of course, we see him training Qui-Gon in this book, which is really cool. And then, of course, we see sort of why he leaves the Jedi Order. There's a nice gap there, though, where we don't really see him interact with Sidious. So I'm hoping for a second one of these maybe one day, where we see him on his home Sereno being approached by Sidious. But this book is being told by Ventress as well, which I found a really interesting choice. And I really liked it. You also get to learn a lot about Master Sifo-Dyas in that, who of course is only name dropped in Attack of the Clones. I mean, there are some more Sifo-Dyas things that go down in the Clone Wars season. It's the Lost Missions. There's a lot of Sifo-Dyas mention. But you really get to know a lot more about Sifo-Dyas in that book. So that's a really great book there. It's a really great audio book. I'd really recommend listening to it. Really, really cool. Next up is Master and Apprentice. So this is about Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. So, of course, in The Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, I think they're a really awesome team. I think Qui-Gon is a seriously underrated character. I really love Qui-Gon. Of course, we all love Obi-Wan. The really interesting thing in this book is it's not like The Phantom Menace at all, like where they seem to get along really well. They're not getting along very well here at all. Obi-Wan is a very salty, whiny character in this book, which is kind of cool because it really reminds me of how Anakin is at first under Obi-Wan's belt. It's kind of mirrored that, it shows that Jedi do take their time to become stubborn. And it's interesting seeing Obi-Wan acting the way he is, because I've never seen him act like this before. And it's great. It shows him coming to learn to appreciate Qui-Gon for the Jedi he was and how smart and intelligent he was. It also shows Qui-Gon being offered his role on the Jedi Council, which I found really interesting. And yeah, this book does a lot. It really, again, it also dives into Qui-Gon's other apprentice, whose name I should know. Just see if the name quickly pops out at me here. It's probably not, because I'm literally just hoping to turn to a page and see his name. But he's in it a lot. Dooku's other apprentice, sorry. Master Rail. There it is, Master Rail. So yeah, you really get to see him a lot more here, and I really enjoyed this book and the Dooku one because it's set before the Clone Wars. It's an era of Star Wars which hasn't been dived into much. From the Clone Wars on, it's all been dived into a lot. So it's really interesting going back before then. This is before the clones, before the Naboo crisis. So it's a really, really interesting read, this one. I really enjoyed it. Of course, this book is by Claudia Gray as well, who is doing the High Republic books, which are now scheduled to come out in 2021. So really looking forward to that. Next up, this is the first one I read. This is the one that got me into these. So I owe this book a lot. And that is Dark Disciple. So this one here is, if you want to know how Asajj Ventress's story ends, this is where it ends. So this book, of course, it even says on here, here we go, it says, based on the unproduced episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars. So this was going to be in Series 6 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, but that's, of course, halfway through making Series 6 Star Wars Clone Wars, Disney bought Lucasfilm and decided, nope, we're gonna stop production on The Clone Wars, which was such a stupid decision. So you can see half of the episodes from Series 6 unfinished. Like, there's one where Obi-Wan goes to Utapau early. There's the Boba Fett versus Cad Bane episode. And I believe the first episode, because I think this would have been a 3 or 4 part long episode. I think they started doing the first part, because you can see Ventress chasing someone through Coruscant with Master Voss, the Jedi in this one, following her, which is in this book. So they did put this episode into production, but anyway, here it is. Here's the whole thing, and this is a great story. I was never the biggest fan of Ventress. I felt like she got better when Dooku got rid of her, but I still never loved Ventress, but this book made me love her. Some of the things she goes through here, the changes that the character goes through, the development that she goes through in this book is incredible. And I'm really pleased this was released as a book and not a Clone Wars episode. This story works so much better as a book. There's so much more detail in it and whatnot. I love this book. I think it's fantastic. As I say, Master Voss as well. He's a character who I've always really liked. He's kind of a cool, slick Jedi. He's like Qui-Gon Jinn, but he's a bit more young and doesn't really... I don't know. He's a bit more cocky, I'd say. And he's never really been fleshed out too well. I think he was in like 2 episodes of the Clone Wars. You see him in Phantom Menace for like a brief second, but I think when the Phantom Menace was made, he was just a background character. But it's really cool. I love this book. It goes through so many things. Voss goes through so much as well. We get to go to this really cool like celebration with the separatists and whatnot. Like Dooku's there with Grievous, and it's really cool. Yeah, so it's really good. You get to see a lot of your favourite characters from Clone Wars in this. You know, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Yoda, Windu. They're all in it. They all have a few lines, which is really fun. Of course, Dooku plays a big part. The bounty hunters pop up as well, like Boba and Bossk and Embo. And they reference that episode of the Clone Wars where they went on a mission with Ventress a lot. So this is a really great book. I really enjoyed this one. If you like the Clone Wars TV show, that is probably the perfect novel for you. Next up is the one I'm currently reading. So I'm about a third of the way into this one, so I can't talk about the whole thing yet. But that's Star Wars Catalyst. So yeah, this one is a Rogue One novel. This came out just before Rogue One, I believe. To build it up, see if it's got 2016 it came out. So yeah, probably would have come out just before Rogue One in the cinema. This, and I love I haven't really said this yet, but I love what they put on the back of some of these books. This is really cool. I love this line. The end of the Clone Wars is in sight, but beyond hope's horizon, the darkest of stars is rising. I love that. It's so cool. It gives me kind of tingles. So it shows really Galen Erso and director Orson Krennic's backstory. That's basically what this book is. It's their relationship. And as I say, I haven't read the whole thing yet, so I can't really go into too much detail. Of course, it focuses a lot on Galen's wife, Mira, as well. She's literally just given birth to Jin in the first couple chapters. So Jin, at the minute, I believe, is 19 months old, I think, where I am. It's really cool. You see, in a minute, Galen's just left Coruscant. He's been on Coruscant a lot during the book. He's not direct to Krennic at this point, but Krennic he's off on Geonosis, watching the very first touches of the Death Star coming together with Poggle the Lesser. So it's really cool. I'm really loving this book. I can't wait for the Clone Wars to come to an end. This book, so I know things are going to ramp up then. And it's really, really interesting to see how the Death Star really did begin. And Krennic seemed like a nice guy back here. And he had a nice relationship with poor Galen. Things didn't go very well from there on, did they? Next up, this one here, like all of these books, I think are giving you statements like, this is what happened here in the it's giving you like, this is the start of the Death Star. This is what happened to Ventress. Here's Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon's, the start of their relationship. Here's what happened to Dooku. This one here just feels like a kind of filler novel, if you will, but it's still really good. I really enjoyed it. And that is Lords of the Sith. So this is a Darth Vader novel. And this one is really interesting in a way. And by the way, I'm just going to say this now. I said I was going to go over my comics at the start. I've got all my comics here, but I'm going to do that in a separate video because I'm talking way too much here about the novels. Just going to be a novel video. Lords of the Sith, it's basically just Syndulla, what's his name? I can't think of his name. Syndulla, Hera's dad. What was his name? It's escaping me. I think there's so many names in these books. I mean, we have met Hera's dad in the Clone Wars, and he was also in a few episodes of Rebels. Cham Syndulla. He's basically been attacking Imperial frigates and whatnot. So the Emperor decides that him, Vader, and the representative of Ryloth, the senator on Freetar, are going to go to Ryloth and investigate and whatnot. Or they're going to go there and just make their presence aware. And of course, things go wrong. Syndulla attacks. And there's some brutal stuff in this book. There's a scene at the end where Vader, there's this village which end up in this cave, and there's kids there and stuff. And the Emperor basically just says to Vader, you're going to go in there and kill them all. And he goes in there and he kills them all. It is some brutal stuff. It's a really good book. It's not as memorable as the other ones I've talked about so far, I'm not going to lie. It is a good book. But, yeah, it feels like just one of those filler, like, oh, here's the Vader and the Emperor going on a mission. The Emperor doesn't really do much. He kind of just sits there, like, smirking, like, hey, Vader, you're going to do all this. And Vader's like, okay. But, it's really cool. It's nice to see some more of Cham Syndulla, because, last time we see him was in Clone Wars, and then what, Rebels is 15, 16 years later. So it's a huge jump. So it's nice to see what some of the stuff he was up to then. Next up is Tarkin. Now, this one here is really cool as well. I really like the back of this one. He's the Emperor's right hand and the Empire's iron fist. So Tarkin has always been one of my favorite characters. Even from just A New Hope. I love the way that Peter Cushing played this character. Fantastic. And then, of course, he's been brought back in small ways with the TV show Rebels, and he even appeared in Clone Wars, which they've actually referenced in Catalyst, the book I'm reading at the minute, because he pops up in the episode where they're in the Citadel with Jedi Master Peel. And then, of course, this is after Catalyst. It's during Catalyst, but he hasn't mentioned it, but he pops up at Ahsoka's trial as well. But Tarkin's such a cool character. I love those very dominant figures. It's like when people ask me, like, even like with Game of Thrones, my favourite Game of Thrones character was always Tywin Lannister, because I love those big, egotistical, strict, stern, older characters. I love them. And Tarkin is the definition of that. This book is great. It brings back the Carry-On Spike, which is a ship which had one of the best cloaking ships in Star Wars. It was from an episode in Series 2 of the Clone Wars, I believe, when they went against... Again, name's escaping me. The Spider General from the spider-looking Separatist general. I can't remember. But anyway, so they bring that ship back, and it's Tarkin's ship, and it goes missing, and basically they have to track it down. And of course, Vader's here as well. As you can see him lurking. It's really cool. This book does a lot. It shows Tarkin basically get given, or he goes to see the Death Star, and the end of this book is the Death Star leaving Geonosis, which is really cool, which I'm guessing is how Catalyst is going to end. It's going to end with the Death Star will stay on Geonosis for that whole novel, and then of course this one here takes the Death Star off of Geonosis. It sees Tarkin get his rank of Grand Moff, which is really cool. So yeah, I really like this book. I'm actually kind of hoping we get a second one of this one day. It was a really, really good read, that one. Okay, next up. Now we're getting into my favourites. Here we go. This is where the real juicy stuff is. And I think these are going to be the last ones I'm going to be able to talk about for a while, because a lot of the others here I haven't actually read yet. First up, this is my favourite Star Wars novel. I love this one. And it's the biggest one. This one is... It's a lot of pages. It's 428 pages long. This is a big boys book. Thrawn. This was also the first one I bought. I didn't read this one first. I bought this like 3 years ago when I was in Forbidden Planet. I was like, I loved Thrawn. I loved him in Legends. And at this point, he was coming back to Rebels. I think this was right before he appeared in Rebels. I bought this. I was like, I'm going to get this because I love Thrawn. I want to know more about this guy. It took me like 2 years to read it. Anyway, I finally did read it. And Thrawn is in my top 5 Star Wars characters. I love Thrawn. He's honestly so cool. I'd probably say he's my second favourite Star Wars villain after Vader. Maybe third. I don't know. He's top 3 without a doubt. I think this character is so cool. He's so strategically brilliant and so fascinating to watch. I love his calm demeanour. Just everything about this character is just... It's everything I love. This guy is not... He's not got no powers. He's got some fighting skill, yeah, but put him against, you know, most characters in Star Wars, he ain't going to do great. He's just so smart. I love it. And this book... It is kind of his origin of how he got into the Empire, even though in his second book, which we'll talk about in a minute, there's a lot of prequel stuff. And, of course, on the 1st of September, so literally in just under a week's time, his first prequel book is coming out, which I have on pre-order. And it is set during the Clone Wars, I believe. So, this isn't his origin story. But at the start of this book, it's almost like he's come from nowhere, and he just gets into the Empire. And the Emperor just kind of is like... You seem smart. I'm going to put you to the test. I could, like the Emperor always does with everything that he sees potential in. He's like, I'm going to test you and see if I can end up using you to my advantage. Which is what this book does. I love the side character in this, Eli Vanto. He really was one of my favourite characters in this book. You get to see a lot with Governor Price in this book, who of course... then goes on to be a big character in Rebels as well. Wilhoff Yularen comes back in this book as well, who people will remember as Anakin's Admiral from the Clone Wars. This book it's so fascinating. You go from one place to the other, and the story's just moves along at such a good pace. And of course, the ending where Vader shows up. It's like, I've always wanted to see Vader and Thrawn interact, because when I was reading these books, I had already watched Rebels, season 3 and 4, and they didn't interact in that, I don't believe. So I was like, yes, we're finally going to see them interact. But anyway, this is my favourite Star Wars novel I've read personally. I loved it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So next up is Thrawn 2. This is Alliances. And as you can see, there he is. Our boy Vader is back. He's on quite a few of the covers. He's on the Tarkin one and Lords of the Sith. So this is the third one he's on the cover of. Very cool. I can't remember if this book had anything on the back. It didn't have anything. No, it didn't have anything too cool. This one here has, on the back, has time for Thrawn to face his future. Time for Vader to face his past. Which I think is really cool because Vader and Thrawn had met when he was Anakin. And you find that out in this book. There's a lot of prequel stuff in this book. I'd be tempted to say you spend more time in the Clone Wars than you do during Imperial times. So this book is set between season 3 and 4 of Rebels. And it's about Vader and Thrawn going on a mission. And while they're on this mission, Vader and Thrawn are both faced to look really, really far back into the past when Anakin and Vader met once before. I like this book a lot, but there's a lot of Padme chapters, because Padme is a big feature in the prequel bit. And I don't dislike Padme, but she always gets in the way. It's like, no, I want to see Anakin and Thrawn. Go away. Or I want to go back into the future and see Vader and Thrawn. So I wasn't a big fan of all the Padme chapters, because there's a lot. But it's a good book nonetheless. It's just really interesting to see, you know, how these two characters interacted. And then, of course, we've got the final Thrawn book until next week. Thrawn Treason. So yeah, I'm not sure why the Emperor's on the cover of this one, because, spoiler, he's barely in it. But wow, what a great book. The Chiss plays such a huge part in this. I was so happy. Eli Vanto comes back in this one, which was really, really fun. And this book is set during season 4 of Rebels. If you remember, there's like a 5 or 6 episode period around the time Kanan dies, where Thrawn vanishes, and it's all on Governor Price. This is where Thrawn was. But yeah, really, really cool. And of course, the bit on the back is all about, it's one of Thrawn's warrior monologues there, because he's always going on about what a warrior would do. And I love that. This book is really great. The final battle between him and one of the other Grand Admirals is just so tense. Little civil war going on there almost in the Empire, and I loved it. How he put himself on the enemy's bridge, vastly outnumbered, and still manages to come out on top. Incredible. Thrawn is such a good character. So yeah, Thrawn, Treason. This is my second favourite Thrawn book. Maybe my second favourite book overall. Second or third. This book was great. Really, really did enjoy this one. It came very close to being as good as the first one. And, of course, something really interesting that happens at the end of that one, and I think this is why the book Alliances happen, the second Thrawn book, is at the end of it when the Emperor, of course, because that book, the main thing in Treason is that it's Thrawn versus Krennic, because Thrawn's got his TIE Defender project, which he wants to get funded, but Krennic wants Stardust, the Death Star, to get funded. Of course, at the end of it, the Emperor goes, I'm going to fund Stardust more, because obviously the Death Star. We've seen the films. The cool thing is Thrawn's like, I don't think it's a great idea for Death Star, but I would recommend you have Lord Vader watch over it. So that's why Vader's on the Death Star in A New Hope. So I really like what the book did there. Now, the next few books, I haven't read some of these, so I'm going to go a bit quick on them. Next one up is this book come out for the game Battlefront 2. This is Inferno Squad. So on the back of this one, it has the Rebellion has Hope and the Empire has Inferno Squad. Pretty cool. I like it. I am actually going to give this one a read, definitely at some point. I haven't rushed to read this one yet, though, mainly because of the game Battlefront. While I've become a big fan of it, with all the updates it's done over its numerous years of being released now, one thing that always annoyed me about Battlefront is how quickly the Inferno Squad, or, well, Iden Versio, went good. I really wanted to see an actual badass team in the Empire. Hopefully we'll get that with the TV series Bad Batch. But anyway, so yeah, haven't got around to reading this one yet. I'm going to be very curious to see how good this is. Iden Versio is a character which still has a lot of room for development. And hopefully I'm sure this book will do it. Most characters who I didn't think were developed enough have been severely, like massively developed in these books that I've been reading. So I have faith that that one will actually really entertain me. Just have yet to get round to it. Next one up. This isn't one that I was in any rush to read, because I haven't heard much about it, to be honest. Even though I hear it's good. I mainly got this because this hardback goes for a bit of money. Normally goes for about £60. I managed to snag it for like 20 quid. So I was like, right, I'll get it now while I can. But just haven't managed to get around to reading it yet. And that is Bloodline. But I do want to read this one because, again, it is by Claudia Gray, who is one of their best authors. Again, you know, she's doing the upcoming High Republic stuff. So this is in the years before Star Wars: The Force Awakens, so it was the build up to that, I believe. If I'm correct, I think this is set. Well, I know it's set after Return of the Jedi. I'm not sure how long after, but I think it's about her going into like the politics side of Star Wars and the galaxy almost rejecting her because they're like, look, you're smart and everything, but you're the daughter of Darth Vader. We don't want you here. So I believe that's what this book's mostly about, because you can see the shadow of Vader there behind her. But yeah, I hear it's very good. It's Claudia Gray, so I don't really doubt that it won't be good. Just have yet to get around to it. Now, this book here I started reading years ago, but it was absolutely awful. And it's funny, everyone online says this is the only Star Wars novel that people seem to dislike. Every other Star Wars novel does genuinely go over quite well, luckily. But this is the only one which people don't seem to like. Even I was like, no, that's not good. I am going to give it another go, though. And that's because this is a part of a trilogy again, like Thrawn. And the other two are apparently really good. So I am going to try and get through it just to get to the other two. And that is Star Wars Aftermath. Even one of my good friends, Robert, I lent him the book and he gave up on it instantly. So from what I got, this book focuses mainly on Wedge Antilles for a bit, and then that's honestly about as far as I got. I don't know much about this one. I like the fact that it says the war is not over, and then you've got the second Death Star up there. Yeah, I think this is just about the rebellion chasing out what's left of the Empire and stuff. But yeah, the weird thing is that this is by Chuck Wendig, who writes the other two Aftermath books, and I hear they're both really good. So, anyway, there's the first one. Obviously, haven't got around to these two yet because I still need to do the first one. But here is Aftermath Life Debt. This one here, I believe, features Han and Chewie quite a lot, hence the Falcon on the cover. So, yeah, looking forward to reading this. Again, can't say much about it. Really don't know much about that one. And then we got the final one, Empire's End. Now, this one, I believe, you see a great deal of the Battle of Jakku in it. Hence the Star Destroyer going down, and hence an AT-AT just wiped out on the sands there of Jakku. So I really like... I'm really looking forward to reading this. And I like what they put on the back here. Every end is a new beginning. Because the Battle of Jakku was really the end of the Empire. I know that there were still a few things going down on Coruscant after the Battle of Jakku. But this was really the end of the Empire, which was really cool. I like the fact, just because the Emperor's gone doesn't mean the Empire's completely defeated. So I like the way that through these books, through these Aftermath books, you really do see the rest of the Empire slowly being depleted. So yeah, there we go, there's that one. Yeah, we'll go back in its little cubby hole. Come on. There we go. Alright, now this one I just got on the cheap, because when this movie came out, because it was so big, there were thousands of novels of it. So I've got the Force Awakens novel. I'm not going to get any more of the film novels. I literally got this because it was like £2. There was so many made of these because the film was massive. Yeah, I know that there are things that happen in these that don't happen in the films, but the sequel trilogy annoyed me so much. I honestly just bleh. I don't really care to read about those characters anymore. Next up, I have read this one. So we're going into the smaller books now. For some reason, some Star Wars novels have put out smaller books. Don't know why. So the first one up is Ahsoka. Now, if you actually listen to the audiobook of this one, it's really cool because it's narrated by Ashley Steinfeld? Is that her name? Her name's not going to be on here. I don't know why I'm reading it. Who, of course, is the voice of Ahsoka in the Clone Wars and Rebels. So this is set a year after the Jedi Purge, after the events of Revenge of the Sith. So this is basically what she does like immediately after the Jedi Purge. Now, the first chapter of this is already rewritten because they talk about Maul and the Siege of Mandalore very briefly. But one thing they mention is that they captured Maul in ray shields. And of course, that's not the case. He's stunned and then clones zip tie him up in the Clone Wars Series 7. So that's rewritten in the Clone Wars Series 7, which, to be fair, those last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars were some of the best TV I've ever watched, period. So I'm fine with them changing it. So yeah, that's been rewritten. But this is basically just about what Ahsoka's getting up to. She meets some people and whatnot who she's trying to help, but she can't help because she don't want to show her powers in front of people. Because if the Empire get with that she's a Jedi, you know. It sort of shows the very beginnings of the rebellion here with Bail Organa, which I thought was really cool. There's a really cute scene between her and R2-D2 where they get reunited. I really loved that. And yeah, it's interesting. There's an Inquisitor hunting her as well the whole time, which is really good. I forget what Inquisitor it was. Is it the 6th? No. Oh, what Inquisitor was it? I can't remember. I think it was the 6th brother. Yeah, because you had the 5th brother and the 7th sister in Rebels Season 2. I think it was the 6th brother. My god, he was useless. She beats him without a lightsaber. She takes his lightsabers. And if you ever wondered where Ahsoka got her white lightsabers from, she bleeds his crystals out. Like, she gets rid of all the red and she makes them white. And it's such a badass moment. I'm like, yes, I love that. So, this was a good read. Really good read. Next up, we have... This is one which I really want to read. The next 2 I really want to read. There's only 3 more. 3 more including this one. This is by Claudia Gray again. This is one which people say, read. This is amazing. This one is Leia, Princess of Alderaan. So, I believe this is set before the events of A New Hope. Freedom of Edge. Yes, Freedom of Edge is set before the events of Star Wars: A New Hope. And of course, this one is a build-up to The Last Jedi. So it actually really goes into her relationship with Hodo. Hodo? Yeah, I always say her name wrong. I always end up saying Hodor. It's like, no, that's Game of Thrones. Hodo, General Hodo. Pink-haired lady from The Last Jedi. I actually didn't mind her character too much. I didn't mind The Last Jedi. It's the Rise of Skywalker I have problems with. But anyway, not going to get into them. I'm not going to do it. So I believe it just kind of shows her really early life. I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of stuff here showing her growing up. I know that her mum is featured a lot in this book. And I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Bail Organa. I'm a big fan of Bail Organa. Unfortunately, he doesn't get as much credit as he's due. He's a really cool character. And then, of course, one more Claudia Gray book here, which I also hear is amazing. Journey to the Force Awakens. So again, this one here also came out just before The Force Awakens in cinemas. And that is Lost Stars. It's quite a big book, this one, but the words are spread out a lot better on this one. So I don't think it's going to be as long as it looks. But really do want to get into this one. Again, don't know much about this one. In fact, I know virtually nothing about it. I'm guessing that this one here is also going to see maybe some events of the Battle of Jakku, because it looks like a Star Destroyer going down there. It looks like a pretty yellow planet. I'm guessing maybe we might see the Battle of Jakku here again, because, the Battle of Jakku was massive, that you can have loads of different points of view on it, like Aftermath, Empire's End, and of course the game Battlefront. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to one day finally getting into that one and learning. And the last one up I have to show you, also Journey to the Force Awakens. They had loads of books coming out before The Force Awakens. This is a really thin one. This one here, honestly, I reckon it would only take a couple days to read this one. This is Smuggler's Run. So, yeah, Han and Chewie one here. And I, again, don't really know much about this one. Han Solo and Chewbacca returned in an all-new adventure. The story is set between Star Wars: A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. Chewie must fly the Millennium Falcon on a top-secret mission for the Rebellion. So, yeah. It's basically just going to be a fun mission with Han and Chewie. So, who don't want that? I mean, come on. But anyway, there we go. There's my Star Wars novel collection. Now, I know I said at the start of the video I was going to do my comics, and honestly, I have my comics right here. I was going to do it, I have them here. I was going to do it all in one video, but Wow, I've rambled enough. That'll have to be its own video, the comics. So we're just going to do the novels for now. But yeah, that's my Star Wars novel collection. Guys, if you're a Star Wars fan and you haven't got into the novels yet, do it. You'll really love or appreciate a lot of these characters a lot more. They're so cool, some of them, who only get seconds of screen times in the films and even TV series. Yeah, and again, if you're like me and you don't have loads of time for reading, then audiobook it. Audible will give you 2 free books when you sign up, and then every month they also give you another free one. So you could literally just like listen to 2 on your first month and then 1 every other month. It costs you nothing. But anyway, there we go. There's another video for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it as always. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like the video, leave a message, and I'll see you all next time for another video. Bye-bye.